Okay, welcome everyone to our masterclass, Quantum Visioneering, defining your non-linear path to your desires. When we're talking about non-linear, kind of mathematical term, well, linear simply means you're moving in a straight line. Non-linear means that it's not a straight line. There are times when you may move exponentially, there are times when you may simply plateau out, waiting for the next quantum leap, so to speak. So let's begin as usual with a few words from our dear friend Bob Proctor.
Hello there and welcome. I'm Bob Proctor. Over the next few minutes, you are going to have some absolutely incredible information shared with you. I could go back many, many years, 55 years ago. I was one lost soul. I was sitting in a fire hall in the suburb of Toronto, and a man gave me this book, and he said, if you do exactly what I tell you, you can have anything you want. Well, I didn't believe that. But I believed he believed it. And so I thought, I'm going to do exactly what he says. I have never looked back. I have earned millions of dollars. I've had an absolutely phenomenal life, and it just keeps getting better. I have no intentions of slowing down. I'll be 82 here in a day or two, and it just keeps getting better. I got the energy of somebody that's 32. And what you're going to hear over the next few minutes is the essence of everything that I've studied over the past 50 years. Listen really carefully to what they're going to explain to you over the next few minutes. And if you're wise, if you've got your ear to the ground, you're going to see how your results will change dramatically. How you can multiply your income, you can improve your relationships, and you can live in a healthy body. I have studied for a long time. These people have got the answers for you. Listen carefully to them. Hello there and welcome. I'm Bob.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, just to put things in context, Bob has passed a couple years ago. He went on to about 87, 5 years after that. And the Proctor Gallagher Institute continues under the leadership of Sandy Gallagher, right? And its mission is to improve the quality of lives globally by elevating the quality of thoughts individually. And it sets out there some of the methods, education, and we are simply as part of this global movement. And here we were at the last gathering in Scotland, myself and a couple of my fellow coaches. A couple of them is here today, so we welcome them. And that is just, a little snapshot that this is a worldwide movement. This is just not an in Eagle Dynamics, we help individuals, especially small business owners, young aspiring entrepreneurs and educators, overcome self-doubt and limitations and developing the thinking and the mindset necessary to achieve their most ambitious goals. So this is how we at Eagle is contributing to it. My partner, Susan, is here also. And as we pointed out earlier on, the journey is not necessarily a straight road. There are twists and turns, ups and downs, all in accordance with the laws of the universe. And once you are working with us, we explain to you what those laws are, so that you can act in accordance with that. right? So you start out by posing this issue. Your mind is either in a confused state or an orderly state. Which state are you in? And when we ask these questions, and I mean, we may not answer it now, but you should have a sheet of paper where you can, in fact, make notes and try and get from this session, whether you're watching a replay or a live session here now, right? Make some notes. Which state are you in? Right? As always, we always urge people to thine own self the truth. So what it is that you need to change? You have to change your paradigm to change your life. To move from the confused, limiting state to an orderly state. And there's only one thing that needs changing, and it's your thinking. So all of your present results are a direct reflection of what is going on inside of you. And until you change what is going on inside of you, nothing is going to change on the outside. Many of us find this very difficult to grasp and believe some cases because we have been brought up to deal with our five senses. And we're going to give you a little knowledge and explanation as we go through this class today, so that your awareness will increase, and therefore, hopefully, you can make better decisions with regards to what it is that you want to do and how you're going to go about doing it. This reminds us, for example, Neville Goddard in The Coin of Heaven points out that we need to stop spending our thoughts, time, and money. I need to think in a different kind of way. But everything in life should be an investment, where people talk about they're sacrificing for their children. For example, all I mean is that they are willing to do without certain things now so that they can provide more to ensure that their children are going to eventually live better than they are. And look at it as legacy, and we mention that further on in this session. He goes on to point out that thought is a coin of heaven, and money is its earthly symbol. What does he mean by that? Because he goes on in this quote to say that heaven is your imagination. But remember what we said earlier, that to change anything, you have to change how you think. And how you think is how you're going to become. So on the one hand, you need to start with thought, but also you need to make sure that you have the money necessary to be able to enjoy the things that you want and the things that you are going to do. So we have to have a certain type of money consciousness. We have to think in abundance and not scarcity. So let's explain when we say we talk about money, and then we talk about wealth, and we talk about riches. When we talk about that in personal development, this is what we mean. We are talking about several stages. The first step from poverty to riches is the most difficult. And we're going to ask ourselves, why is this the most difficult? That is mentioned. It is because of our program and our inability to make decisions in a certain way. Napoleon Hill points out that all riches and all material things that anyone acquires through self-effort begin in the form of a clear, concise mental picture of the things one wants to see. If we have to have a vision, whatever you have to be based on your goals and your purpose and your goal. Nothing else. You don't need to know the how. And that is where the question of decision comes in, where most people, we are not trained to make decisions because we are trying to, as put it colloquially, so to speak, you put in the cart before the horse. See, you want to know all the answers before you begin. So let's break it down, riches. We're talking about having great relationships, not just with the family, wherever you are, whether you're working, relationships, even just meeting people in the supermarket, give them a smile. Talking about your income. And here we talk about multiple sources of income. You may have your career or your business, and it's what is called your primary source of income. This is where you get satisfaction. Most people have a job where they want to earn money from the job, and they may not be getting any satisfaction doing it. Your health, Bob mentioned this earlier. You have to have a healthy body. You have to ensure that your emotional state and your energy is at a high level to be able to perform. And of course, your spirituality. And here we're not talking necessarily about religion. We'll explain a little bit further on in the broad sense. All right? So if we were to ask, who are you? Most persons will say the name. They say, this is me. They're talking about their body. So it's a very important question because when you develop the understanding of it, because school doesn't teach you this. And most times you have to discover. This picture here kind of partially illustrates what we're talking about. Each body is surrounded by energy, and it's manifesting itself in different waves. So if you have we talk about that before, if you have weak energy, then what happens is that we are going to emit weak vibration. And if we're not going to attract its equivalent. So, what do you really want? That's the first question we usually, right? What do you really want? Where are you? If you're in high school, what is your goal? What are you projecting academically to achieve? If you're in college, if you're a professional working from 9 to 5, what is your financial goal? If you're a young person, how do you see your future? Are you allowing what is going on around you to affect you? Or are you going to set your sights, your vision on what it is that you want to achieve? If you are in midlife, are you asking yourself this question? Given who I have become and the time I have left, how shall I live? What kind of legacy should I be having or leaving behind for those who will follow me? These are questions which we help you to answer here. So if you are interested, you can request a discovery call, you can take a photograph, and we will follow you up to help you to determine what your purpose and what your goals are. What we are going to do at this time, you see, just to give you a little picture, an image of the mind and the mind in relation to the body. What we have there is a large circle that represents the mind, and a small circle represents your body. And the body is an instrument of the mind. The mind, and as I said, this is just an image to help you with the process, which I'm going to do short. This is not all it is. Your mind is in every cell of your body. The mind is movement. But since we think in pictures, we need to have some kind of image there. So if we draw the line in between, we have the conscious mind at the top, and then we have the five senses: see, hear, smell, taste, touch. And we refer to that as the thinking mind. That's where you store all the knowledge, information, go to school, books, whatever. And this is the subconscious mind. Refer to this as the emotional mind. This is where you have feelings. And this is where the doing takes place. And this is where the challenge is for most of us, because we don't understand that habits, we form habits, and habits form your future. Sometime in the language, we will refer to this as, this section is where your paradigms are stored, your limiting beliefs. And of course, that is the body. And that is where action takes place. So you have your thoughts, your feelings, and so your thoughts is here, your feelings, and this is where action takes place. The conscious mind can only accept or reject. We refer to that as free will. We have the choice, one or the other. But almost everything is positive or negative. The subconscious mind must accept. There's no choice. That's why a baby observes and learns to walk, learn to talk. Doesn't need any help from anyone. Contrary to what sometimes people believe. Everything that is going on. So what is happening in the process is energy. And this is why we give you that thing about previously about the body, that energy is flowing to and through you, your body, that is at all times. So who are you? We answer this question this way. You're a spiritual being with an intellect, and you live in a physical body. Spiritual being. So when you see that glow around, just think of it as energy. And you have certain intellectual faculties, which we are going to explain, and you live in a particular body. What are the intellectual faculties? You have what is called imagination. You have your intuition. Memory, will, reasoning, and your perception. And if you can see this diagram here, those six are contained in your consciousness. But when we talk about the power lies within you, this is what we're talking about. That is where your power, that is where the gifts are. So your imagination, you create in your imagination whatever you want. You have the intuition which connects you to infinite intelligence. You have memory. The memory is perfect. But you also have future memory. We get to that, explain a little bit more about what is your future memory. You have reason, the ability to get ideas and put them together. You have the will, which allows you to concentrate. And of course, you have the perception, your point of view. If you notice here, I have the heart in the subconscious mind. So this is here to talk about as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's what they're talking about here, the subconscious mind. And of course, in my diagram, you have the body. So those are the faculties, and then your body, it moves into action, it creates a reaction. And that is what changed the condition, the circumstances, and the environment. So that is why you have to begin with the thought as to what it is that you want. What is your vision of the future? That's where you begin. Not at the present circumstances which you are. Yes, you have to be aware of it. But it doesn't determine the actions that you are going to take. We're living very exciting times. And there is a view that 2026 is a unique period in the lunar calendar, in astronomical, economic, and psychological, spiritual. So people frame it in this way. And these things happen every so period of time. And 2026 happened to be that. And here what is happening is all of those three things converge, which I would say why so many thought leaders, economics, and transformation are coming to point to 2026 as a reset year rather than just another year, another January coming back. So 2026 have certain possibilities. And every time there's a beginning of a new cycle, and this is something that some of us may not fully grasp. The earth moves in a cyclical manner around the sun. The moon moves around the earth in a cyclical manner. And all the planets move around the sun in a particular order. That's been going on now for billions of years. Man has just been around I think it was 200,000 years or something. I could be wrong. He's a new kid on the block. One person said if all humans were to disappear, the earth would flourish. So what are you going to do? We mentioned that already. You have chaos or order. So old paradigms are dissolving. New opportunities are emerging. Identity is becoming the new currency. We talk about self-image, we talk about creating that identity. And leadership is shifting. That is, the new generation is now reaching the age or the status to begin to emerge as a new leader, so to speak. I would say creative is being rewarded more than confirmed. Your decisions determine whether you ride this wave or you get swept by it. Talking about artificial intelligence, all kinds of changes are taking place. We here emphasize entrepreneurship over jobs. Why? Think about it. What are the largest moving and more profitable corporations and entities? One, social media, which is reprogramming many people's thinking. You have Airbnb. They don't own any physical hotel. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, hotel chain, but it owns no real estate. Amazon doesn't produce anything. A middleman. Take from this, sell to that. Uber, largest transportation taxi service, so to speak, in the world. They don't own one car. They simply get people who want the service and people who are willing to provide the service. But I've just outlined. I think carefully. That is the present model of development. It is going to move from that level to the individual level. They have what is called online business, where you have companies want to sell, you can advertise, sell, and you get a commission. Just like that. What are you doing? Nothing, maybe posting some stuff. But these are new areas that are emerging as we speak. We're going to point out to you why mindset is most important at this time. We have here the fulfillment. We basically touch on this with riches, but the areas that we want: business, finance, health, family and friends, romance, personal growth, fun and recreation. We usually want people to take a stock. Remember, we asked a question earlier, and where are you? Who are you? So first, you want to take a stock as to where you are. So with this, we always recommend an assessment between 0 and 10 for each year. So you can assess as to where you are, and therefore We help you go through to determine from that what your goals are, what are some of the affirmations that you need to deal with the limiting beliefs and the blocks that you have. So do you have a definite purpose that guides your ambition and vision? We help you also to do that. And we talked previously about that your thoughts create your feelings create your action, and that produces the results that you get. Now we help you to develop your thoughts around your goal, definite of purpose. You must have your purpose, and we help you to do that. Sometimes young people tell me that they don't know what their purpose is, and I can understand. I didn't. I was doing things, and here it is where mentorship is vitally important. Because with the guide, with somebody who understands personal development, you can be helped to establish what your purpose is. I have a fellow coach here, she's very, very good at that. My dear friend Mel, she is the tops when it comes to leading people to establish their purpose and to clarify what their goals are based on. So purpose gives meaning to why you are doing what you are doing. Why do you want to earn X amount of money? Why do you want to carry your family on vacation? Why? So again, we offer you the possibility of checking out our program on the website. If you are interested, take a photograph. I can check it out on our website and see what it is we offer. And if what we offer fits in with what you want to do. So we talk about the purpose, and your vision is the bridge that connects your purpose to your goals. How do you create your vision? It's a strategy for your purpose fulfillment, how you fulfill. It's the things that you want and you're going to do to achieve your why. This is where direction comes from. And this is when you begin your new life. Contrary to belief, you don't fake it till you make it. You live it till you become it. And this is one of the aspects of visioneering. You have to create the image and see yourself with what you want before it manifests itself. If you think of a seed in the ground, you don't see anything, but before it can shoot, the roots need to go down so that it can attract the energy and the nutrients necessary for it to shoot out. And this is what happens many times. People don't see anything happening and they think that nothing is going on. And that's not true. If you are steadfastly moving and doing what is necessary to your goal, then. So, wouldn't you agree that trying to figure it all out on your own takes longer, costs more, and often leads to burnout? But mentorship can collapse time and accelerate your success. I wasn't clear, and I left high school, what was going to happen because I didn't get the scholarship that I wanted to go and do engineering. And why was I doing engineering? I wanted to do engineering. It's because everybody else was doing engineering. And we were mathematicians and we were doing physics and chemistry. And we were told that, you know, if you're doing those subjects, you're supposed to be engineering. So I want to be engineer. I won't get into the gory details. But it's just when I reflect, I was living two lives while going to high school. I was active in youth clubs, doing what I really love to do. I was going to school to do mathematics and physics and so forth. When that didn't work out, what happened? The principal of my school pointed me in the direction because he saw in me what I did not see in myself. In a sense, he saw my purpose. I wanted to help people because I was helping students. If the teacher didn't come, I went to the classroom and conducted the class. No one had to tell me to do it. I was just filling in the gap. So the mentorship. And in life, you are going to meet people who are going to point you in the way. But it's your choice. You can reject it. And many people do that. Only years later, they realize what they have done. We're all here for a reason. And now is the time to stop waiting and start living the life you know you were meant for. And we help you to, as you said, to do that. Our signature program, Thinking into Results, we help you deal with debt, job, weight, relationship, multiple sources of income. Any goal you choose. We don't choose the goal for you. And we help you to discover the how. And this time we're just introduce archetypes and their relationships. They are universal patterns of behavior, motivation, and identity. They show up across different cultures, stories, and personal development. They're not personality. They're what we call energetic roles that people step into, depending on the context, the purpose, and the stage of life. I talked to you about at that particular stage of my life, being 20, 21, thereabout, you need some kind of direction. At a later stage, other things happen, you have to adjust your identity as the case may be. But these types help you, as we will see. There's a kind of what we call your inner operating system. Call it identity, self-image are part of it. You know, that's a different way of trying to help people to determine who they are and what they're about and what they need to do to improve. In fact, Sadhguru points out that you are equipped like a computer, but you don't have any program or you are functioning on other people's program. So you need to do what he calls inner engineering. His background is engineering, by the way. So his slogan is inner engineering. And you can see in some of the things that I do that my background in mathematics keep emerging there. So the general structure, and I just go through this quickly, not going to get into it. Another occasion I want to get maybe a little bit more deeper into it. But all of this is structured basically on the European development of psychology. So the sovereign, the king, the queen, is governed vision, order, purpose, and legacy. We talk about inner authority and self-leadership. The warrior. Again, let me point out, all of these categorizations here are European psychology and history. The warrior, that's the action type, discipline, boundaries. It's somebody decisive, courageous, right? And very strategic in your thinking. Tactics is a day-to-day maneuver. The actions that you do, moving you towards the goal. But the strategy, the grand strategy, you evolve to get to where you are. The magician, they represent insight, intuition, creativity, and transformation. And of course, the love, govern connection, emotion, passion, and empathy. These are the four historical archetypes. These four energies exist in every person to varying degrees. And knowledge of your dominant is going to be helpful. For our purposes in personal development, we can think of it in this way. And this is one of the things which I want you to leave and develop more, and we will do that in the future. The builder is the action person. And of course, that involves in the classification that I gave previously, the warrior and the sovereign. Again, I'm letting you emphasize that this is a European model. And my reading of history that European like the war. But the bridge, the empathy, connection with the relationship that you establish with people. And here it is important to point out that you're not absorbing the pain that the person is having. No. You recognize it. And if you absorb it, then it means that what is happening, that person is now controlling you. Hello? The beacon, that the inspiration, direction, the good, the desire. And of course, the blueprint, which we know in personal development, is just 5%. The strategy. And of course, for example, we talk about the magician and the sovereign, that what is happening there, you're using intuition. So all of these archetypes, for example, is what we embody. These are the energies. Why is it important in transformation? To reveal to you your unconscious patterns. That's why we talk about paradigm. That's why I mentioned before that you have to change your thinking. They have to change, recognize and understand the paradigm good. Explain the loop. We did have done that in the tape. That is, if you're thinking about the result, if your thought is on the circumstances and the result, what is going to happen? You're going to have the same feeling that you had before. You're going to do the same action that you had always done. And that give you what? The cycle, that loop, the cycle of growth. You can clarify identity conflicts. That is in relationships. For example, and I say we're not getting too deep into it. One of the things that I attended a recent seminar and I talk about this, why it is that people enter into relationship with persons who are the opposite to them. Part of that is to fill what they think is a void that they don't have. Not realizing that you can adapt your identity in accordance with the needs. You can accelerate your decision making because you understand what your strengths are, what are areas of weakness in developing the strategy, not in your decision making. You can provide a map for leadership development, develop your self-awareness, and you can help people step into new roles with greater clarity and intention. As I said, in future masterclass, I'll get a little bit more into it, but this is just by way of introducing that these exist. And these are the fastest way to shift your identity because they bypass logic and speak directly to the subconscious mind. Your future, your life. So one of the things we're going to ask you to do, not now, but when we work, is your legacy map. What's your 10-year vision? Your 5-year vision? What are your 1-year goals? What it is you want to achieve financially by the end of this year? You're a student. What are your academic goals? All of what we go through is where you are. You have to do an inventory and realize you're going to shift based on your knowledge of your strength, your weakness, and then you are going to now find people who can help you. But your mindset is the key. You have no goal, you can forget it. You're just drifting along. And then, of course, we suggest you develop a 90-day action. If you're in school, that's just what I call a term or a semester. Why do you need it? You need to know where you're going. This is simple, but yes, sometimes it can be hard work. So the vision you create is going to be based on the values that you have, or the values that you have developed. And we mentioned those before, the standards that you're going to do. And therefore, your outcome is going to be a result of the action that you take. What we call the law of cause and effect. Again, we urge you to check out our program. We're not going to get into that. At this time, we're going to leave the time to answer any questions or any clarification that people may have. So I'll stop share and then I'll go to, you know, So if there's any questions, inputs, don't tell me I'm that good. I know I'm good in by the way, but okay.
Very informative presentation.
It's a little different.
Yes. Yes.
Deliberately. I'm trying to basically carve out some new innovative pathway based on my understanding of where how society is moving, what are some of the needs of people, and also the role of personal development. It's my personal view that we are moving into the age of the mind. Personal development is going to be expanding exponentially. Of course, we have all kind of quacks and people coming trying to make money, but that is the nature of the society we live in. So those of us who are here on our journey, we have to be able to develop, not move with the tide, but understand what is going on and develop our own awareness. And I feel that some of the elements that you have touched on is, helping us to widen the lens and to be able to understand, for example, that when you look in personal development, most of the persons are in their midlife. The 40s plus. And therefore, what have been happening is that we have left up the field to miseducation, basically. Whereas one of the tasks in the latter part of this century, in my opinion, is a transformation of the educational system. I mentioned to someone that we must make ourselves redundant, and they interpreted one way, whereas what I'm talking about is if young people begin to learn and to understand about levels of awareness, the laws of the universe, the faculties, and in particular the faculties that they have, then it means that things will be moving in a different direction. Just to mention, I had a discussion with a friend of mine, and I call him the 3%. And I explained to him, I say, your grandparents were into business. Both of your parents were into business. One was a spiritualist also. I said, what do you think you? Because he said that when he was small, he knew him was going into business, and he can't understand why other people do honest. I said, no, you're 3%. We're surrounded by and programmed genetically as well as the environment in which you were born in. You had no choice, literally. I explained to him, that. So if we begin to understand and can get a vision of the future, if young people can get this outlook, irrespective of their economic and social background, then transformation is going to take place. But as I said, that is just my perspective on things. Okay, as usual,
I have a follow-up question, Dennis.
yes, sir.
Thank you for an excellent presentation again, Momentum Mastery Series. You shared something on archetypes and sovereignty. How does that play? And you mentioned a distinction between archetype and personality, where there's a difference.
That, look, it's a the archetype or your identity, you can change it. You can be aware, for example, that um, you have certain types of strengths. We mentioned, for example, the principle of mastermind, which is you get people who are better and they can give you ideas as to how to be. So you are going to maybe change your identity depending on the stage where you are. For example,
Oh, right.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I'll follow up to that again. You also raise a point where sometimes other people see something in us that we don't see in ourselves. Is that also whether it's in terms of possibilities, talents, is that also in terms of archetypes that either individuals possess or personalities that they're not fully aware or that they could fully expand and develop to reach their potential? That
Yeah, it kind of related to it, that when I look at my own, the best examples I have is my own life. That whenever I reached at a particular juncture and I know I wanted to change, but I wasn't sure what to do. I remember a mentor of mine who mentored me from I was about 16 to 26, literally. And he described my archetype. He described to me, he said, Dennis, you're going to have difficulty working with people who do not have a vision of where they were. So you have to be aware of that and adjust yourself if you are in that particular situation. He literally one said, if you are in charge, then there's no problem. Because you are going to chart the course. But so in a sense, he was telling me that I have to be careful when you're in an organization that if the leadership is not A-class leadership, I have a difficulty. Now, how I angle it is me. And I was in that actual situation at the last school I was teaching. And then I was able to be exposed to Earl Nightingale about attitude. You can't change the other person's attitude, you can't change yours. And what you bring to the table is going to affect what that person deals with. So it's kind of the same thing. You see, is that you know your personality type, what dominates, but you also have to be aware when you're going to demonstrate empathy, when you're going to be bold and firm, you know, when you have to have a vision, insight as to so you can inspire others, let us say. I don't know how to tell you, it's the language, as I say, and in my readings of the thing, the language and the dominant thing historically is along the line of sovereign warrior. But in personal development, you're dealing with builders, dealing with different terminology.
so that in certain kind of settings, we have to be mindful in terms of what kind of archetypes is being exercised
Yeah.
or personalities, and then how we respond or react
Well,
to the
we want
situation.
you to respond. We don't want you to react. Remember, when you respond, you stop, you think. Just like what I said, for example, given the example at the school. I changed my attitude. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, by the way. But my attitude, I never, when people come to me, I was the union person, and they complain and they complain. I don't join in the complaint. We try and seek solution. And that person, even when he was doing things which, for his own reasons, I turned them into advantages. I got all the most difficult students in the school, not in the school, were placed in my class. And I turned it around because I understood how to deal with the students. I wasn't focusing on administration.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So I don't have that example, because in education, but in your field of business, you're going to come across it, especially when you have employees and people working with. That you have to know, how to blend, how to relate, you know. So you deal with attitude, but from a perspective of an understanding of people's strengths, weaknesses, gifts, all kind of stuff. Well, everyone, we have run in a little bit over, but it was good. We'll try and answer the question. I hope I added a little clarity there. So take care.
All the best. It was good.
Okay, Professor. Thank you.
All right, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Well done.